So show me your books.
Well, I'd like to show you all of them, but you ain't got time. But this is a Rosenberg.
Can you do it again?
And I got Dr. Martin
Okay,
Luther
hold
King.
it. That's Brown. I caught your film.
And
Sorry.
Okay, I have to start again. We had
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah.
come here, I want to show you my books.
Okay.
A lot of books here. But that ain't all of them.
But where are the rest of them?
Oh, they hid away
Oh.
in first one place and another. Well, what would you like to read?
I'll tell you, I should read a lot of these books, and I haven't. I'm embarrassed to say.
Don't you have more than I do?
I might have some. No, I don't have more than you do. No, but my books, they're not exactly like this.
Well, you see, I can't claim that, these books is all mine because two more people it's gone, done gone, you know, in the ground. They done passed away.
Who's that?
That's my husband,
Yeah.
my second husband, and his wife. Some of these books was theirs, but not all of them.
Whose was this one? This is the Judgment of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg.
Oh, that's mine.
Yeah.
This here is a book that broke my heart and all of our family. My mother was living in, and we all like to fainted and cry our eyes out when they executed them. It's pitiful. Yeah, executed Ethel and Julius. Wasn't that a disgrace under this cruel society system? It broke my heart, and I worked out on the streets and got arrested and put in jail for that, for getting petitions signed to save their life.
Where were you doing that?
Huh?
Where were you doing that? Where were you getting people to sign petitions?
Signing petitions all over this south side. I was living then with my mother on Rawson Street.
Here in
and
Atlanta.
all up and down every street. Yeah, I've been sad over this. That's the society it'll take you.
Henry George, Progress and Poverty. Tell me about this one. Where'd you get that one from? That's Progress and Poverty by Henry George.
Henry Joyce.
Henry George.
It is a shame that I don't have good eyes. That's what the good Lord's done won't help me. I guess it's because I'm a CP, don't you?
I don't think I can't believe that's the reason why.
No.
You can't see right now. Here, I'll help you out with that.
I can't see for inheritance.
Well, where did you learn how to read, Nanny?
Huh?
Tell me about where you learned how to read.
What I learned?
Where did you learn how to read?
I learned how to read in College Park.
Yeah.
We was living in College Park then, and I got a letter from a young man that we used to work together, and his sister and I, we were really chums, you know. She was a musician, could play anything in the world. We worked in the Aqueduct cotton mill, and anyhow, I thought so much of her, but later my brother and her got in love and they got married. But she died with pneumonia. But she is my cotton mill, you know, chum.
And she taught you how to read? How old were you then?
Huh?
She taught you how to read?
I was about, I guess I was about 12 years old. And
So you didn't learn how to read in school?
No, they didn't pay me no teaching when I was going to school. I was a sharecropper's daughter, and the sharecroppers. The teacher boarded with the ones that owned the farm, and so what happened is she paid all of her attention, the teacher, to the sharecroppers' children.
And how long did you go to school?
I went to school about 3 months in my life.
Just 3 months.
About 3 months.
So why did you have to leave school?
Beg your pardon?
Why could you only go to school for 3 months?
Just go 3 months?
Yeah.
Well, my parents moved away from there.
Oh, I see.
And it's time then I was looking for a job.
How old were you then?
Well, let's see. I was about 8 or 9 years old.
You were looking for a
Not
job.
hardly that old.
Okay, this is the Outline of History of the World Trade Union Movement by William Z. Foster.
Yeah, that's a good book.
Yeah.
I knew him well.
How'd you know him?
'Cause I went to New York and seen him. That's years after I growed up. Yeah, Foster. Well, I've got a lot of good books back there.
I see The Grapes of Wrath. Did you read this one? The Grapes of Wrath?
I skipped over them. You like it?
I did. Very, very much. I
Uh-huh.
did like The Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
When I had good eyes and lived out in Douglas County after my husband passed away, that's all I done is read at night. Stayed up till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Surely was. I was trying to get a little education.
So these books, I guess, were your education. See, W.E.
Leader into the next room.
Papers from a Worker's Life. This is by William Z. Foster also.
This Foster. Is this Foster's book?
It is. Can you tell me
Uh-huh.
about that one? There's Pages from a Worker's Life.
Well, I haven't read this much, but I was familiar with Foster and these other books and so on.
And Foster came out of what movement? I don't know much about Foster.
You don't?
No.
Well, you can go to get you a book at the library
I could do
and find out.
Lead her out.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't we go sit in the other room and we'll talk a little?
Go in the other room?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm going wide, stay back there. I just want to do it slow.
Yeah.
Nanny, why don't we sit in here?
Two things. I want to get a close up on the books.
Yeah.
And then I want.
Nanny.
Tape's rolling.
Huh?
Anytime.
You're calling me back?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Okay.
Do the same thing?
Yep. Oh goodness! Look at all these books.
Oh,
Where'd you get them all?
bought 'em.
You bought them.
Yeah, what? Some of them was my husband's,
Uh huh.
not my first husband, but Washburn.
Yeah.
And
I see Grapes of Wrath here.
yeah,
That's one of my favorites.
It's a good book, and I've had a lot of books.
Here's one I haven't read. Julian and
Ethel Rosenberg.
yeah. Tell me about that.
Well, I think that's the biggest disgrace I've ever heard of in my life under this society. I think this would murder her, murder her husband, and murder her and leave little infant children. I think Uncle Sam ought to be done away with.
And were you involved in this case?
I certainly was. I walked the streets and down here on Rawson Street. That's where my sister owned a house there, and I had to live there then. And we worked, my sisters worked, petitioned, tried to save their life. And that was the saddest room. My mother and all of us, you could hear us crying for half a mile.
Was your mother a member of the Communist Party too?
Yeah.
When did you join the party?
I joined it when Angelo Herndon come here and woke me up.
When was that, you think?
That was back in 34.
34, I see. Well, I tell you, let's go in and I want to ask you something about the 1934 textile strike. So let's go and sit down and talk.
Well, that I'll try to do.
Okay.
No, Angelo Herndon.
Okay, now we'll just sit down.
One, let's see. Yeah, it's fine.
Rolling.
It's fine.
Okay, let's go. Come here, show me your books.
Oh, just come over here. I'll show them to you
Okay.
anytime you want.
I see Grapes of Wrath there.
Yeah, that's a good book.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
It is a good book.
And I see the trade union movement, the World Trade Union movement.
Yes.
Did that belong to you or your husband?
My husband. He was an electrical worker,
Uh-huh.
and you know he had to keep up with things.
Yeah. And I see that Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. I don't remember that book.
You don't?
No.
Well, that was some sad day in our family. The whole room was full of people, and when they electrocuted both Ethel and Julius both, and I think it was a terrible, capitalist mistake.
Well, what connection did you have with the case?
Well, I got literature, used to get literature from the Daily Worker out in Douglas County and things, and I'd read, you know, some of Forster's way back when he is writing book.
When did you join the Communist Party?
I joined in 1900. I believe it was 34.
And why?
Why? Because I didn't want to be living in starvation and millions of people with worlds of money. I couldn't even get support from my children's father because I was accused of being a communist.
Were you a communist?
I surely was, and I'll be till I die.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and talk about
But
the...
some things I might not agree with nowadays, but when
Can we move her a little bit this way?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you keep running into a blocking problem.
Okay.
Take
when
your house
Forster and all
just,
them was,
I just hold it. I'm going to ask you the question again. Were you a communist?
yes,
And
I'm not ashamed of believing in communism.
and what made you a communist?
I want the highest part they are.
What do you mean?
Well, I hope I'm not wrong. I've been to China, and the sweetest people on earth I've ever met. I've never been to Russia, but I've dealt and associated with a lot of people from Russia.
Well, who introduced you to communism?
Who introduced me was Angelo Herndon and Mr. Otto Hall.
I see.
And I was arrested so many times for giving out literature and working in in the colleges and places.
Well, I know that you got arrested during the 1934 textile strike. Let's go in here and sit down and talk about that.
Sure enough.
Okay.
Well, we can do that.
Okay.
Okay, so just slow pan.
Mm-hmm. Very slow pan. Not saying much. Let's see. We start right here. Start about here. And pan across.
Backwards or forwards?
Just the way you're going. Yeah, that's fine. Mm-hmm. That's fine. You can start, no, you don't have to go that far.
Okay, well, we rolled on that.
Okay, good.
A lot of work to this.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay? Yep. Okay, I want to go this way. Let's start again. Back up.
Oh, maybe I'm
Ready?
bad eyes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready.
You want to go to your right. Okay, here we go. I want you to sit right over here.
Where are you going to sit on
I'm
the
going to
trunk?
sit right here.
Oh, that's good.
And I want you to tell me about your life in the cotton mill. How old were you when you first went into the cotton mill?
Well, I was about 8 years old in Rome, Georgia. I was an industrialist kid, and I wanted to do something. And my mother told me I could go and get me a job. So I went to the office in Rome, Georgia, to the superintendent's office. One does the hiring. And I told him who I was, and I wanted a job. And he says, "Well, you look mighty little." I said, "Well, that don't make no difference. I sure do know how to learn." And so he said, "Well," says, "I'll tell you, you can go ahead and go to work, but you mighty little." And I says, "How much you gonna give me a hour?" And he says, "Penny a hour." Well, you know, a penny was a big thing to me then. And I went to the spinning room, you know, the next morning and went to work.
Cut.
And
Let's
cut me.
move now.
I want everybody to know how old I am. I want to live a long time.
How old are you?
Oh, I will tell you if you'll not tell nobody. I am 90 years old and a few days over. My birthday is the 3rd day of May, 1900. Can you guess that?
Well, tell me when you first started working in the cotton mill.
Well, I started in Rome, Georgia. That was my first experience in a cotton mill. I started in Rome, Georgia. I was about 8 years old, and I did finally get the superintendent to give me a job, and I went to spinning. And from that, I've run machines all over the cotton mill that women runs.
Was your family in the cotton mill?
Yes, that's where they's living, in the village. You know, the company owned the houses, and they was working. What was at home there?
How many people in your family worked in the mill?
Well, from my mother worked, but not like we did long years. And they was about 10 in the cotton mill.
And what was conditions like in the mill?
Well, from what I understand, even then, you know, when there's a making blue denim, and then they'd dye it, we'd have to breathe that odor of that, you know, dye. And I didn't think it was good, and it certainly didn't smell good then. And you're supposed to speed up when you're operating machines.
When did they start the stretch out?
They started to stretch out when I was a young girl, about 13.
Could you tell me about how it worked?
Well, we'll skip Rome, Georgia, can we? I was working in the Gate City cotton mill, and we had a man there, and his name was Bishop, and he married a preacher's daughter, Preacher McElroy, and he was making noise all the time and disturbing. You know, the machines didn't make the noise, he did. And we didn't know what he was doing. I thought he was fixing always belts, but come to make it short, he was making, you know, belts to whip people for the Ku Klux Klans. And it was miserable. His name was Bishop. And that's what kept me worried all the time, hearing him knocking on that steel at the end of the spoolers, spinning wherever he was working.
That's the old 3-inch, the big wide drive belts, right?
How long did you work in the cotton mills there?
There,
Yeah.
I worked there a good many years. And my mother moved to between East Point and Hayville to the Martell. They didn't call it Martell then. It was Elizabeth Cotton Mill. And I got a job there. Of course, I worked in all Gate City and Piedmont, Exposition and Rome and many more. In Porterdale. But the job, cotton mill work, is too unhealthy. I would figure with the experience I have in reading and breathing dust, lint, you'll have to ask me some questions.
Now, when did you first get the idea to join a union?
Well, I had a brother, but I'll go. I'll start this. You know, during the WPA days.
Mm-hmm. But were you ever in a union before the WPA days?
No, I never was in no union. I didn't know nothing about one. I'll say I did. I joined the union, the Workers' Alliance, and I was working and making shirts up on Pryor Street with WPA, and I lost my. I just couldn't imagine how to do what I was going to do, and work so hard like a seamstress has to do. Well, we got word that Roosevelt was going to cut off the WPA and we'd all be out of work. So I began to work up, and my children did too, young, they wasn't too little. They built me a ballot box and pretty ballot box, and I was going to work and get petitions signed everywhere I could. And so I carried that to my job where I was making shirts for the WPA here in town. So what happened? I asked the supervisor, not the supervisor, but she is our boss, could I go down in the basement where we had to eat at, carry our lunch, and make a little talk. And she said, I don't know till I call Miss Shepperson. Shepperson was living in Atlanta, and she is the administrator then of the WPA. And so that's the way it went. She come back, she said, you can't speak down there in the basement. I said, well, thank you. And then I got that was on a Friday, and Miss Shepperson sent a layoff slip for me to fire me, because I wanted to make a little talk. So I notified the union. The Workers' Alliance was a union, for the WPA workers, and that's what I did. So after Shepperson had me fired, then our union had me back to work. That was on a Friday, and Monday I would come back to work. They'd like to fell over. They like to fell over.
Could you tell us about getting arrested in 1934, you and your sister?
Well, yes, I can tell you that very plainly. I had to get my children to go over to my mother's. My oldest daughter carried the youngest ones. I had 5 children. And I didn't have no food. I didn't have not one bite in the house to eat of nothing. And I went down to the welfare that evening, as I was making my way to go to exposition strike. And when I did, I went in and talked with the welfare worker. And what she did, she offered me 50 cents And I says, lady, 50 cents won't buy my children, 5 children, no food, and I ain't got an ounce of speck of no coffee, no nothing. I drank coffee then. And so she said, well, that's all I can give you. I says, well, you keep that, him. I says, keep it. And I went on then and caught me a trolley and went to picketing. See, I was tied up. The reason I wasn't already there with the children, no food, and having to send them to my mother's over on Capitol Avenue. So that's
Okay, hold on just a moment.
Yeah, we're rolling.
Okay, I want you to start, when you first went down on 34, you were going to the picket line. Could you start that story again?
well. I went down. I caught me a trolley and went on to the picket line. See, my sister was working there. I mean, she is a picketing, but the time I'd be off would be on account of my children and the condition, that the house was in without food. So that's why I wasn't on the picket line every hour. And I went on and got off the bus. There's a man that wanted me to come by his house, and he'd go at the picket line with me. And so I had a daily worker in my bosom, And when I went on there to his place, I found out that he wanted to use me, and I didn't go for that. And so I asked him, was you coming on down to the picket line? Said, yeah, he'd be down right away. So getting back to the paper, I seen it wouldn't do for me to let him have the paper that I was, distributing. Would have distributed it to him if he would have been a person that I felt like it ought to had it. So I found out what he wanted, and I went on to the picket line by myself, and there I stayed. And when we, picket all them hours, and I got a lady when they broke up would she let me go to her bathroom, and her and her husband, and they said yeah, and it just a little piece, one of the exposition, houses they lived in. I went on down there and I come on back. I thanked her for, being so nice. And I come on back to the picket line, and it just about finished up, there's all going home. And as I was coming up, got about the side of where we was a picketing, and the police grabbed me and my sister. And when they grabbed me, they nearly burnt my arm, bruised it, and put me in the paddy wagon, whatever you call them, and carried me and my sister down to the resting.
No, I don't like hand cutaways. If I can part. Okay. All right. Now start with they put you in a paddy wagon.
And my sister, my youngest sister, she's working there and was in the strike too. and put us in Big Rock Jail. You know where that used to be? Well, the Big Rock Jail, that's where we stayed 74 days. We had to stay there 74 days of that, and hadn't committed a crime no more than you had. You didn't know us. So there's a lot of stuff, we carried on, tried to teach the prostitutes, to not, to throw themselves away and get in jail like they do, in selling their body and so on. Well, we had to stay there a pretty good long while. 74 days in the Big Rock is hard. So what we did, we had to get her some lawyers, and we got 2 Afro-American lawyers. We got Mr. Benjamin Jr. Davis and Mr. John Gear. So they liked to blowed up in that jail when that was going on, but such as that had to come, So we didn't care, we didn't pay no attention, we wasn't scared, neither one of us. And she's still a living, but she's not in good health. She's in a home. Her name was Annie Mae Leathers. Well, we stayed there, and Benjamin Jr. and Mr. John Gear, they just couldn't take it to that jail, two white women having black lawyers, Afro-American lawyers. But we had them just the same.
Could you talk about blacks in the mills? What did they do in the mills?
Well, there's a very few in there. They didn't have too many. I can't remember in our section they didn't have any. Here's all the cotton mills, they wasn't working no black people. Except, to clean up and to mop and to sweep some of their filth.
What did you feel about that?
I felt just like I do today. Some of us white people can clean up as well as we can. I don't like nobody having to do dirty work, but you have to if you're keeping house or so on. But I don't want to put it off all on the black people.
Could you talk about Angelo Herndon?
Yeah, we talked about him to different ones.
Tell me about Angelo Herndon, but use his name.
When we'd use his name?
No. When you tell me about Angelo Herndon, but say, let me tell you about Angelo Herndon.
Let me tell you about Angelo Herndon. Now, Angelo Herndon and Mr. Otto Hall and I don't know how many, and a lot of Jewish people, they had an organization, but I can't remember the name of it. The Jewish people had an organization. But they'd come in there, and they seemed to be so pleased, to see the Afro-Americans and see my mother and her elderly woman and all talk. But they was, I'm not going to try to hide it. They was a little ugliest thing went on at the table. My mother fixed Mr. Otto Hall and all of us a good meal, and Angelo Herndon and so forth. Well, when we sit down there, my daddy, this is something I shouldn't bring out maybe, but if it's in my heart, I know. My daddy, he spoke out and said he wasn't used to eating with people like that. And my brother, Archie Oline Leathers, he worked in the harvest fields, and learned us a lot. And he just grabbed my daddy and give him a kick in the back and, put him away from the table. And I guess that kind of broke him from some of his prejudice. Some you can't get it out of.
Could you tell me talk about the Ku Klux Klan?
I haven't told you about, my husband was took out, but later years I got married to him, Walter E. Washburn. He carried, well, first I'll say this, the WPA had let Walter have a lot of land, anybody could get it, it could stand up and sign for it. And this black minister, he didn't have a thing, nothing to eat, no nothing, didn't have no church or nothing. So he went to work. Walter did, dividing the land he had and let him tend that to raise stuff, foods and stuff. And then the little boy got sick. The Afro-American son, I'll say the preacher. He is a preacher. He got sick and had to be carried to a doctor, and so Edith and Walter had a car, a little truck or something. They carried him down to Auburn Avenue to Dr. Jackson, and he treated us poor people. I've been to him, carried my son too. He is a very good man, and he went ahead and treated the little boy and everything, and he found out he needed circumcising, and they had to keep bringing him back till he got better. So after that, the Klan took Walter out, and this minister, Afro-American minister, and beat him nearly to death. He never did get over it. Now, my husband, when I got married to him, he is an electrician. He could do wonderful work with electric, And his wife was an Indian woman. She is very lovely, and she wrote for against the black church. You know what that is, don't you? The black church. Well, she wrote against them. And we all were in sympathy with her. And she had to be, Walter had to be taken in. And, it's bad for him to stay out there. They might have got him and killed him. And my mother took him in and kept him and took care of him till he got well. And
could you talk about the Roosevelts?
The Roosevelt administration? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not too well read up on Roosevelt, only about what he put us through. What I mean, say, in the WPA days and the electorate and a few things like that. I don't know as much about him, but for me, I don't trust any of them. I don't trust any of the money, the wealthiest people. But Roosevelt done a lot better than a lot of the others, and his wife too.
Did you ever write them?
No, but when I got into that writing, we used to keep. When Walter was living, we kept the road hot and kept the Congress and the Senate appointments for me and Walter and this and that and the other and about the wars and so forth. We was really busy all the time.
But you never wrote Mrs. Roosevelt or Franklin D.
Thinking.
Did you ever write the Roosevelts yourself?
Well, we wanted more. We made appointments with the Congress and Senator, and especially about wars, We talked on wars, and that's about it.
Now, could you talk about Elizabeth Gurley Flynn?
Well, I associated with her some.
Could you say I associate with Elizabeth Gurley Flynn?
I don't remember what all we associated about. Let's see. Gurley Flynn was in the Communist Party, wasn't she? Well, I knew her. And see, we didn't have money to go down there. That's where we should have went and seen and talked. According to what little I know, I think Gurley Flynn was a good person.
But you don't recall picketing with her or going to meetings with her?
Beg your pardon?
Did you picket with her or go to meetings with her or anything like that?
You mean Gurley Flynn?
Yes.
I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I want the truth, all I'm telling you.
Right.
Nothing but truth.
Now, you've been political all your life.
Yes, I have. My mother was really a political person all her life, and especially after she got married and had children, she wanted to teach them. And she's the instigator that I inherited a lot of my, things. She had a good head on her. Everybody might not think she did, but she really did.
Could she read and write?
Yeah, she could read and write, but not too good. But she is a great hand to save all the clippings of the devilments that are going on in the newspaper and Ku Klux and so forth, the killing people and so on.
Could you told me a story about how your parents saved a black woman once. Could you tell that again? When the mill got said that the blacks were going to get you.
Well,
start to tell that whole story.
I remember that. You know, there's in East Point, Georgia. They were a little place. I guess it's still there. I don't know. Called Clark's Cove, and those people in Clark's Cove was all Afro-Americans, and they were shooting, hanging all the black people over in there. That was just a little piece from the Elizabeth cotton mill where my sisters worked, and I'd carry them a lunch. care of them their lunch, breakfast. And that woman, my mother's friend, she happened to break a loose from Clark's Cove and come over to my mother's. I guess you'd call it about a half a mile, might have been a mile from East Point to where we lived in Elizabeth House. And they come around, the superintendent the superintendent sent somebody around to warn everybody that lived there they had to come in the cotton mill that night before dark. And that woman that my mother had there, she told her we had to obey the rules, We thought we did. I guess they'd have killed us if we hadn't. We had to the children and babies and all had to go in the cotton mill and stay all night. And when it got dark, this woman, I think her name was Minerva, my mother's friend, she, got there just a minute or two before dark. And my mother, told her to just keep quiet and so on. She had done told her about how they're killing them and hanging them over there. So what happened? The man come around. Maybe it's done told that once, but anyhow, we had to go to cotton mill that night. Babies and all, children. We went to the cotton mill and stayed down there practically all night. And my mother had Minerva, I believe is her name, had her, when she left that night to go to cotton mill, she told her, says, now you get in this closet here and don't you dare to get out, 'cause Minerva, you'll get killed. And she knew she would, 'cause it's killing them up at Clark's Cove. So that's what happened.
Okay,
And
stop it just a moment. Now,
It's rolling.
okay.
my shortness of breath caused me being so slow.
Okay.
My blood pressure's so low.
Yeah.
So the doctor said.
Okay, you want to tell me the story again?
Concerning the having to go in the cotton mill. Well, the man come around to give orders to everybody to go in the cotton mill that night before dark, and we had to do it. So my mother said, or either be run out, and that's what happened. My mother had one hid in the she hid her in the closet, when we left. And so we went to the cotton mill. I can remember it as well as if it's today. So we stayed down there all night. No food. So we stayed. That wasn't just our family, that was everybody, and the village was a mile long. Well, that's about all I know.
No, you see, what we don't know is that the woman was Afro-American and that they were threatening that if you didn't get into the cotton mill, the Afro-Americans would be after you. That's what, you see, when you tell the story, we don't know that because you just say one, but you don't say that she's Afro-American. Could we dare try it again?
Well, you want me to say that, like it was?
Yes, But be sure that you say that Minerva was an Afro-American.
Oh, yeah. Didn't I
Okay.
say it?
No, you didn't. Okay, try it again, Jim.
Rolling.
Well, my mother had to go in the cotton mill, and she had a Afro-American in her house, one of her friends. And I'd like to say this too, Dad. My mother was prejudiced with no nationality, no Jewish, Italian, or nobody, none of the Afro-American. Well, anyhow, we had to stay in the cotton mill all night, and my mother had left that Afro-American in the closet. She was very anxious to get back. And that's about all I can say. But
Now, why did you have to go to the cotton mill? What
well,
reason did they give you?
well, the reason they said we'd have to go to the cotton mill that the Afro-Americans was coming in and kill us all, and the babies too. Is that enough?
Yep, that's it. That's exactly what I wanted. Okay.
Did I get it?
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Now, Jamie, I'm.
I was looking up something else. Is that funny or suspicious in me of keeping this
What is it?
pencil?
A pencil?
It's a pencil, pen. You wanted to see it, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's what I got the sign the Rosenbergs petitions. Let the people sign them with that.
I see.
Well, Ethel and Julius. That's when I got in jail again.
Well, tell us about being in jail again.
Well, I tell you, the police lived right close to my sister had owned a house, and that house was Leo Frank's uncle. And it was a very wonderful house, built solid. And this police that was there lived down on Pryor, and it's just on the corner where my sister's house was, across the street. And my sister and I were going up Pryor Street getting petitions, trying to get petitions signed to save the lives of the Rosenbergs. And this old man, as a police, he is considered very vicious to everybody I ever heard speak of him. But he arrested me, but he didn't arrest my sister. Now, I mean, a different sister, Minnie was my older sister than this one that stays with Nellie did till she put her in the home. The one that is in jail with me. Anyhow, he put us in jail for getting petitions signed to save the life of Ethel and Julius Rosenberg. And I don't know of anything could be any viciouser than that.
How long were you in jail that time?
I don't remember how long I was there. We didn't stay in there as long as we did before when we was in the strike. But old Wooster, he's not living today.
You've outlived most of them, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I'm not worrying about that part of it. I'm just worrying what I've done to try to help humanity, regardless of what they are, Jewish and Greeks or Afro-Americans or what.
Do you think you've done enough?
No, you don't
okay.
never do enough.
Do you think you've done enough?
No, not at all. I ain't done enough. I might be doing little things you don't know nothing about. No, I'm not as stout as I have been. I've been a stout hussy.
Are you still a member of the Communist Party?
Well, in my heart. But I don't know nothing about the Communist Party, how it's a-going now. I haven't since I left Douglasville. That's been quite a while. Now, as far as I'd like to read the paper and get the paper, but I don't know where I'd land at. I don't get the Daily Worker. It used to be the Daily Worker, but it's a Daily World now, unless they've changed it back.
What would you like to do next?
Take it.
Okay.
Paper and get the paper.